So we were discussing about how it is important that whatever we learn, whatever we discover of ourselves through self-knowing, through our reflections in the mirrors of others in relationship, we have to show for it. It has to turn into action. And because it is of no good to have a learning experience, a life-changing experience. And if you keep on acting and relating and behaving just as you did before your life-changing experience, it doesn't make much of a difference, and it doesn't mean it was deep enough, because something that really changes you, how can you not change, and how can you not have anything to show for it? There has to be action, and it has to translate into action.
Yeah, definitely. It has to manifest as action. And you can't tell yourself and you can't tell the world. I've done my good bit of meditation work, and I discovered a lot about myself, my hypocrisy, how I am cunning, how I am devious, and so on. And not put that learning into action. So you can't say that, and then you can't say that I did all this meditation and then go to your cot and go to sleep. You can't do you can't do that. So you've got to allow the new understanding, the new learning, to spill into your action. And I believe that if that learning has really happened, and you've learned a great deal about yourself, then I believe that it's going to leave a stamp in every action of yours, whether in the office or your behavior at home, then your spousal relationship, in all these places, it's going to leave a telltale sign that, oh, this guy, he's now changed, something like that. And on a more general note, I think there are dynamic societies where action happens by itself, because those societies and the divine architectures of those nations, they have enough ebullience and enough action, so it will happen by itself. But there are also passive societies, and the divine architecture can be passive, and giving you a proneness to inaction rather than to action. So then what happens is, somebody may be slow to act, and somebody may be unwilling to act, and that's actually a manifestation of lethargy, lethargy in thought, word, and deed, and being passive. And that's not good, because if you learned something and you think it's of great value to you, then your first moral responsibility is that you should share it with your neighborhood, with your kith and kin, with your brothers and sisters, because the whole of human society is a give and a take. And so that this new learning which you have now travels in waves and goes into society. You've got to do that.
I would take it even a step further, Guruji. If you've gone through something that is truly life-changing, it even changes how you see the world, how you when you come to realize this divinity you are, this incarnate divinity you are, how can you relate to the world as you did before you had this realization? That would be dissonance. That would be incongruence. It would not be coherent. And therefore, it's not something that you're going to have to say, and you're going to go look for your neighbor and your wife and say, oh, I've got this beautiful insight now that I'm divine. And the best way to show congruence, coherence, is by action, by
Yeah.
inspiration,
Yeah.
by not saying anything. And the people look and say, oh my God, what happened to Guruji? I mean, he was, I remember him being, or I'd better turn that example to me. I remember Sandra being like, and she would always pick up a fight, and she would always be impatient, and she would always be seeing competitive and whatever. And when you just come to the dinner table and everybody's quarreling and you're just quiet, listening, and not getting engaged in the fighting, not letting yourself be ticked off by what your brother is saying, and you're looking and observing and trying to be compassionate and acting without saying, perhaps, but that is congruent and coherent with what you've learned, because you are you know, you are aware that other person is a mirror of you, and until you are able to feel and put yourself in their shoes, and you act from that place, which may be just silence and listening, is that is the proof of that there has been change, that there is congruence, that there is coherence.
Yeah, true. You have to bring it into the plane of action. And sometimes wisdom tells you that you should not speak, maintain silence. And sometimes wisdom also tells you that to maintain silence is inappropriate, because when you maintain silence and a social evil has paraded before you, then you've got to call the correctness of that to question, and you've got to make your disapproval known to others. And so you cannot be passive in those situations.
Agreed.
And so depending on the context, you've got to be either you've got to vocally express yourself, or you've got to show it in thought, behavior, and feeling, that kind of thing. But action is important, and especially in those societies which are prone to more passivity and more inaction, for a better layer of society to arise and be built. So action is important. And for the societies which are too dynamic and too rajasic and too active and too aggressive, then the right action could be that they have to become more contemplative, and they have to become more indrawn, because they are into too much of a flurry of activity. And that means extreme extroversion, and that is not necessarily good. And so depending on the context, we have to give action its rightful place. But I'm mainly concerned about a society which is, before the information technology came, I think India was more passive. With the information technology and the internet and the cell phone and everything, then you see more dynamism in interhuman communication, even in trade and in society, in politics, everywhere. But it can be more dynamic, and it is important to bring to the plane of action what you've understood, what you've learned.
And I would just say maybe clarify. What you want is action, not reaction.
Of course. Reaction is coming from a mechanical response, robotic response. That does not come from intelligence. That does not come from learning. Only action comes from learning. Indeed, yes, that is not the key. Action is the key.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you very much. Thank you.